Hey, Shalom Israel. First and foremost, I'm going to give all glory, all honor, all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashah, Yahweh Shai, to the Hope Collective Israel. This is your brother Shamash Shuwan coming back with another lesson. And this lesson is regarding Acts 21:26. Some people say that Paul is animal sacrificing, but if Yahweh say the same, we'll get the righteous results out of this. Let's go to Acts 21:26. It says, Then Paul took the men, and the next day, purifying himself with them, entered into the temple to signify the accomplishment of the days of purification, until that an offering should be offered for every one of them. So right here, the offering subject here, they say that Paul is going to animal sacrifice, but I don't think that that's true, right? Because Paul, he understood it, he knew the law. So let's get a precept. Let's go to 2 Corinthians chapter 3. 2 Corinthians chapter 3 and verse 3, it says, For as much as ye are manifestly declared to be the epistle of Mashiach, ministered by us, written not with ink, that's the letter of the law, but with the spirit of the living power, not in tables of stone, but in fleshly tables of the heart. So this is talking about the law there, right? So this is the law of faith right here, okay, that Paul is referring to, right? Let's jump down to verse 6. It says, Who also have made us able ministers of the New Testament, not of the letter, but of the Spirit. For the letter killeth, but the Spirit giveth life. So we see that Paul, he's not going to animal sacrifice, right? And if Yahweh said the same, we're going to get all of that. But here, let's get the understanding on the Nazarite, okay? So let's get it right quick. It's going to be H51:39. Let's get the understanding on the Nazarite. Here it is.
Strong's H5139. Nazir.
Okay, there it is. So we go down to the outline of biblical use. We're going to see consecrated or devout one, Nazarite. Okay, consecrate one, devout Nazarite. Okay, so we see that a Nazarite, it's a concentrated, it's like or a consecrated vow, or devoted vow that one would take either for a dispensation of time or for a lifetime. Okay, but we're going to see some instances of Nazarites in the Bible. Okay, we're going to see that Absalom, the son of David, was a Nazarite. Okay, let's go to 2 Samuel 14:25. It says, But in all Israel there was none to be so much praised as Absalom for his beauty, from the sole of his foot even to his crown of his head, there was no blemish in him. Here it is. It says, 26, it says, And when he polled his head, polled means to cut, right? It says, For it was at every year's end that he polled it, because the hair was heavy on him. Therefore he polled it. He weighed the hair of his head at 200 shekels after the king's weight. So we see that Absalom also was a Nazarite. Okay, he cut his hair every year, uh, and sometimes the Bible don't really go into you know the description of the actual Nazarite in terms of not drinking wine and all those things. But we're going to see some circumstances here. We saw circumstances here with Absalom that would define him as a Nazarite. Okay, now we don't know if he was a Nazarite for life. Okay, but we're going to see some instances of Nazarites from the birth. And let's get the first one. The first one is going to be Samuel. Samuel was a Nazarite from birth. Okay, let's go to First Samuel. Let's go to First Samuel, chapter 1. We're going to look at verses 11 and 21. Okay. 1 Samuel 1 and 11. It says, and she vowed a vow. That's the vow of a Nazarite. Talking about his mom here, Samuel's mom, and said, O Yahweh of hosts, if thou would indeed look on the affliction of thy handmaid, and remember me, and not forget thy handmaid, but will give unto thy handmaid a man child, then I will give him unto Yahweh. See that? All the days of his life, and there shall no razor come upon his head. So we see that Samuel was in fact a born Nazarite from birth. Okay, let's jump down to verse 20. It says, wherefore it came to pass when the time was come about after Hannah had conceived, that she bore a son, and called his name Samuel, saying, because I have asked him of Yahweh. So we see that in fact Samuel was a Nazarite from birth. Let's get another instance. Let's go to the brother Shemashawan, or Samson in the scriptures. Okay, Samson also was a born Nazarite from birth. Let's go to Judges 13. Let's go to Judges 13. So we're just trying to lay the ground to understand the roles of a Nazarite, okay? And what Paul was doing there in Jerusalem, okay? So this is Judges 13. Okay, and we're going to read from verses 1 through 7. It says, and the children of Israel did evil again in the sight of Yahweh, and Yahweh delivered them into the hand of the Philistines 40 years. And there was a certain man of Zorah, of the family of the Danites, whose name was Manoah, and his wife was barren and bare not. And the angel of Yahweh appeared unto the woman, and said unto her, behold, now thou art barren, and bearest not, but thou shalt conceive and bear a son. Now therefore beware, I pray. Watch this, I pray thee. And drink not wine or strong drink, and eat not any unclean thing. For lo, thou shalt conceive and bear a son, and no razor shall come on his head, for the child shall be a Nazarite of Yahweh from the birth. It's like it, from the womb, right? And he shall begin to deliver Israel out of the hand of the Philistines. Then the woman came and told her husband, saying, a man of God came unto me, and his countenance was like the countenance of an angel, very terrible. But I asked him not whence he was, neither told he me his name. Slack it. 7, it says, but he said unto me, behold, thou shalt conceive and bear a son, and now drink no wine, nor strong drink, neither eat any unclean thing, for the child shall be a Nazarite to God from the womb to the day of his death. So we see that Samson Shemashawan was a Nazarite from the womb to his death. Okay, let's get another instance of a Nazarite from birth. Remember and we have to understand that sometimes the Bible, it won't, specifically, give the indication, but through the precepts, we'll get the understanding, what the context is and what's really going on. So let's go and see the next Nazarite from birth, and it's going to be John the Baptist. John the Baptist was in fact a Nazarite from birth. Let's get it. Let's go to Luke 1. John the Baptist was a Nazarite from birth. Okay. Let's go to Luke 1, and we're going to start at verse 5. It says, Luke 1 and 5, it says, there was in the days of Herod, the king of Judea, a certain priest named Zacharias, of the course of Abia. And his wife was of the daughters of Aaron, and her name was Elizabeth. And they were both righteous before God, walking in all the commandments and ordinances of the Lord blameless. And they had no child, because that Elizabeth was barren, and they both were now well stricken in years. And it came to pass that while he executed the priest's office before God in the order of his course, according to the custom of the priest's office, his lot was to burn incense when he went into the temple of God. And the whole multitude of the people were praying without at the time of incense. And there appeared unto him an angel of the Lord, standing on the right side of the altar of incense. And when Zacharias saw him, he was troubled, and fear fell upon him. But the angel said unto him, Fear not, Zacharias, for thy prayer is heard, and thy wife Elizabeth shall bear thee a son, and thou shalt call his name John. And thou shalt have and thou shalt have joy and gladness, and many shall rejoice at his birth. For he shall be great in the sight of the Lord, and shall drink neither wine nor strong drink, and he shall be filled with the Holy Ghost even from his mother's womb. So we see that in fact John the Baptist was also a Nazarite from the womb. Okay, so now we laid that foundation to understand, who the Nazarites were. Okay, now let's get a precept right quick and understand that even during the Maccabees, they were still doing the vow of a Nazarite. Let's go to First Maccabees, chapter 3, and understand this, right? And if Yahweh said the same, we're going to see that Paul was not animal sacrificing, nor had he intended to animal sacrifice. Paul wouldn't do that. He wouldn't go against the law like that, and we'll prove through the scriptures. So this is First Maccabees chapter 3 and 49. Okay, it says, they brought also the priest's garments, and the first fruits, and the tithes, and the Nazarites they stirred up, who had accomplished their days. So, and we'll see later on the length of a Nazarite, because everybody wasn't a Nazarite from birth. We see that Paul, he wasn't a Nazarite like that, from birth. But you can take that vow, right? You can take the Nazarite vow, and so let's go get some understanding on a Nazarite vow. Okay, we need to go to Numbers. Let's go to Numbers, chapter 6. Let's go to Numbers chapter 6. And we're going to start from the top. It says, And Yahweh spoke unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and saying unto them, When either man or woman shall separate themselves to vow a vow of a Nazarite, to separate themselves unto Yahweh, he shall separate himself from wine and strong drink, and shall drink no vinegar of wine or vinegar of strong drink, neither shall he drink any liquid, sakia, neither shall he drink any liquor of grapes, nor eat moist grapes or dried. All the days of his separation shall he eat nothing that is made of the vine tree, from the kernels even to the husk. So we see the stipulations of the Nazarite vow here. It says, In all the days of the vow of his separation, there shall no razor come upon his head until the days be fulfilled, in the which he separated himself unto Yahweh. He shall be holy, and shall let the locks of the hair of his head grow. It's the same thing with Absalom and those guys were doing. Samuel and all those guys. Shemashuan, right? John the Baptist, right? 6 it says, All the days that he separated himself unto Yahweh, he shall come at no dead body. So we see the circumstances here. Couldn't commit a dead body, right? And so you had circumstances that were attached to the Nazirite vow. Let's jump down to 9 and 10. It says, and if any man die very suddenly by him, and he have defiled the head of his consecration, then he shall shave his head in the day of his cleansing. On the 7th day shall he shave it. And on the 8th day he shall bring 2 turtle doves or 2 young pigeons to the priest to the door of the tabernacle of congregation. What just happened right there, Israel? What just happened there in number 6 and 10? You see the animal sacrifice involved with that. And if you keep on reading in this chapter, you're going to see that there's massive animal sacrifices there, massive. All right. Sometimes it involved lambs and burnt offerings and all those different offerings of animals, right? So we know that Paul was not going to do that, right? Because we read earlier that the law killeth, right? So let's see exactly what Paul was doing. So now we know here, is giving us an instance and an indication as to what the Nazirite vow includes. No strong wine, strong drink. You couldn't even eat a grape. None of that stuff was involved. You couldn't come in contact with the dead body of any of those circumstances. Okay, so let's go to the book of Acts. Let's go to Acts 18 and 18. Let's go to Acts 18 and 18. We're going to see something here. Okay, let's get it. So this is Acts 18 and 18 here. So we're going to see something. It says, and Paul after this tarried there yet a good while, and then took his leave of the brethren and sailed thence into Syria. And with him Priscilla and Aquila, having shorn his head in Caesarea, for he had a vow. Paul was doing a Nazirite vow right here, right? And if you keep on reading, in the chapter, you're going to see that he did not animal sacrifice. Paul did animal sacrifice right here. So that's what's missing. Paul understood. And we'll see later on, if Yahweh said the same, that Mashiach Yahweh is the ultimate sacrifice. We don't do that anymore, okay? Right? So we're going to see that, in fact, in Acts 21:26, Paul was not intending to, nor would he animal sacrifice. Paul wouldn't do that, okay? So now we need to see some durations of a Nazirite vow. Let's go to the JewishEncyclopedia.com. Okay, and all right. So when you go over there to the JewishEncyclopedia.com, you would just simply type in Nazirite, and you would get all of the instructions of a Nazirite. So we're here at the website, right? And so I'm gonna jump down to persons and duration, and we're gonna see, that a Nazirite vow can last 7 days. It can last 30 days. One of the more common durations of a Nazirite vow was 30 days. Okay, was 30 days. Okay, but again, it can last 7 days, 30 days, a lifetime, a year. Okay, depends on the vow that you vowed with Yahweh, Ba'asham Yahweh Shah. Okay, so now let's go back to the book of Acts. So we see what the durations are. Let's go back to the book of Acts. Okay, let's go to Acts chapter 20. Paul was not going to animal sacrifice there. He would never do that. So this is Acts chapter 20, and we're going to look at verse 16. Okay, because we're going to see why Paul was going to Jerusalem. Why was Paul going to Jerusalem? And we're going to see here, this is the reason why Paul was going to Jerusalem. and when he was involved with the Nazarite vow, with the guys, with the persons in the temple there. Okay, so this is Acts 20 and 16. It says, "For Paul had determined to sail by Ephesus because he would not spend the time in Asia, for he hasted, if it were possible for him, to be at Jerusalem the day of Pentecost." So we see that Paul was hurrying to get up to Jerusalem for the for the feast of Pentecost, right? Okay. Alrighty. So Paul was trying to get up to Jerusalem for the day of Pentecost. This is the reason why he was up there. Okay. Let's get some more. Okay. Let's go to Acts 24. And Paul is going to kind of sum up here. Let's get it. Let's go to Acts 24 and 17. Acts 24:17, it says, "Now after many years I came to bring alms to my nation and offerings." These offerings, it's not, talking about animal sacrifices. So Paul, in this instance, is before the council here. When you go up to the top of this, you're going to see that Paul is being tried here. Okay, he's being tried here. Okay, with Felix and Tertullius and those guys. So Paul is letting you know why he did that, right? Or why he came to Jerusalem to bring alms to his nation and offerings. And it's not talking about an animal sacrifice, okay? Let's get it, right? So let's get the understanding of that offering here in Acts 24:17. Let's get it. Here it is.
Strong's G 4376. Prasfara.
Okay, there it is. So now we go to the outline of biblical usage. We're going to see the act of offering, to bring to. So Paul was bringing gifts, right, to his people. Okay, there in Jerusalem, alms and different offerings, but they weren't animal sacrifices. Okay, let's go back. And if Yahweh said the same, we'll see the offering that Paul was intending to give or to provide. So now let's go to the book of Hebrews and get more understanding that Paul would not go against Mashiach Yahushua. He would never do that. So let's go to Hebrews 7 and 27. See, watch this. Okay, so this is Hebrews 7:27. It says, who needed not daily as those high priests to offer up sacrifice, first for his own self, talking about the priest here, and then for the people. For this he did once when he offered up himself. And so this is talking about Mashiach Yahushua. Mashiach Yahushua became the ultimate sacrifice right here when he offered up himself. Okay? Mashiach Yahushua, he offered up himself and he became the ultimate sacrifice, taking away the bulls and goats. And we're going to see why he did this. Let's go to the book of, or let's stay in the book of Hebrews. Let's stay in the book of Hebrews and go to chapter 10, right? And we'll start from the top. It says, "For the law having a shadow of things to come." What's the shadow of things to come? Mashiach Yahushua, and not the very image of the thing, can never with those sacrifices, talking about bulls and goats, which they offer year by year, we just read that, continue make the comers thereunto perfect. For then would they not have ceased to be offered, because that the worshippers once purged should have had no more conscience of sins. But in those sacrifices there is a remembrance again made of sins year by year. See that? It says, "For it is not possible that the blood of bulls and goats should take away sins." Right. It's not possible. So this is why Yahweh said Mashiach Yahushua, right, to be the ultimate sacrifice for the children of Israel. The children of Israel and not the other nations outside of Israel. Okay. It says, wherefore when he cometh into the world, he saith, sacrifice and offering thou wouldest not, but a body hast thou prepared, and burnt offerings and sacrifices for sin thou hast had no pleasure. See that? It says, lo, it's like it says, then said I, lo, I come in the volume of the book, it is written of me to do the will of my Father Yahweh. It says above, when he said sacrifice and offerings and burnt offerings and offerings for sin thou wouldest not, neither had pleasure therein, which are offered by the law. That's the law of Moses, okay? And not the law of faith right there, all right? And works and all those good things. It says, then said I, it's like it says, it's like it says, then said he, lo, I come to do thy will, O Yahweh. I take away the first, that's the animal sacrifice, literally, that he may establish the second. Himself. See, watch. It says, by the which will we, it's like it says, by the which will we are sanctified through the offering of the body of Mashiach Yahushua once and for all. Once and for all. It's a wrap. So you know Paul's not going to do no animal sacrifice over there. In that Acts 21:26, and we'll see it, right? Let's get let's stay here. Let's go down to 14. See, it says for by one offering he hath perfected forever them that are sanctified. So Mashiach Yahushua took that away. You know, when he offered up his body, his blood for Israel, he took the animal sacrifices away. So you know Paul's not going to animal sacrifice there. And if Yahweh say the same, we'll get the proper understanding, right? So this is what Paul did. Paul, through the spirit of Yahweh Ba'asham Yahweh, Yahweh gave him a lot of wisdom and understanding. So he did this. Let's go to 1 Corinthians 9. 1 Corinthians 9, 16 and 17. Watch this. This is what Paul did. It says, for though I preach the gospel, I have nothing to glory of. For necessity is laid upon me. Yeah, woe is unto me if I preach not the gospel. For if I do this thing willingly, I have a reward. But if against my will, a dispensation of the gospel is committed unto me. Paul understood this, right? Let's jump down to 19. It says, for though I be free from all men, yet have I made myself servant unto all, that I might gain the more. So Paul made himself a servant, right? And we'll see it in that Acts 21 piece, right? To conform to these people, right? Or to the Jews there, to make them think that he's going to animal sacrifice, but he's not, right? Right? It says, and unto the Jews I became as a Jew, that I might gain the Jews. To them that are under the law, as under the law, that I might gain them that are under the law. That's why he keeps stressing that under the law. The law of what? The law of Moses, right? It says to them, to them that I, it's like it says, to them that are without law, as without law, being not without law of God, but under the law of Mashiach Yahushua. We're under his law now, right? That I might gain them that are without the law. The law of what? The law of faith. This is what Paul is talking about. He's talking about the law of faith right here, right? It says, to the weak became I as weak, that I might gain the weak. I am made all things to all men, that I might be all means. It's like that I might by all means save some. So this is what Paul is doing. He's conforming to those Jews, to make them think that he's under the law like that of Moses, but he's not. He's going to be of the law of faith. Okay, the law of faith right there. All right. Let's keep the thing going. So now let's go to Acts 21 and get the understanding. Let's go to Acts 21 and get the understanding here. So this is Acts 21:15. See, it says, and after those days we took up our carriages and went up to Jerusalem. This is the intent. We read that earlier in the book of Acts. That's the intent of Paul coming to Jerusalem to do the Feast of Pentecost, right? Let's jump down to 17. It says, see it? 17, it says, and when we were come to Jerusalem, the brethren received us gladly, and the day following Paul went in with us unto James, and all the elders were present. So all the elders were present then. And when he, and when he had saluted them, he declared particularly what things God had wrought among the Gentiles by his ministry. And these Gentiles are talking about the northern tribes of Israel who didn't know who they were, right? And you'll see that Paul's office is found in Acts 11. That's his mission, because remember, Yahushua gives Paul a mission, right, in Acts chapter 9. This is what Yahushua gives Paul, his mission to go to the Gentiles. But he had to come to Jerusalem first, then go to the Gentiles. Okay, right? Okay, as he had done. Okay. Okay. 19, it says, and when he had saluted them, he declared particularly what things God had brought among the Gentiles by his ministry. Those are the northern tribes of Israel, okay? It says, and when they heard it, they glorified Mashiach Yahushua, and said unto him, thou seest, brother, how many thousands of Jews there are which believe. They believed in Mashiach Yahushua, and they are all zealous of the law. What law is it talking about? The law of animal sacrifice. But Paul has to explain to them, if you go back to the law of Moses, you're dead. You're a dead man. Okay? So you have to have the law of faith now, right? It says, and they are informed of thee, see, that thou teachest all the Jews which are among the Gentiles, see, to forsake Moses. No, Paul was not, or they had, alleged or accused Paul for forsaking Moses' law. Paul wasn't doing that. Paul knew that Mashiach Yahushua had took that away. Paul, but he doing the law now. What do we mean by that? He's up doing the feast day, right, of Pentecost. So he understands, right? It says that thou teachest all the Jews which are among the Gentiles to forsake Moses, saying that they ought not to circumcise their children, neither to walk after the customs. Paul's not doing that. He's not doing that. And you will go see, when Paul circumcised the brother there, right? He did that, but he told the brother before he circumcised him, he says, you cannot put this circumcision before Mashiach Yahushua. Remember the circumcision made without hands in Colossians chapter 2? This is what that's talking about. Yeah, you can circumcise yourself, right? But you can't put that circumcision, man, right? You can't put that circumcision before Mashiach Yahushua, because he's the circumcision made without hands, okay? Right? 22, it says, what is it therefore? The multitude must needs come together, for they will hear that thou art come. Do therefore this that we say to thee. It's talking about the vow, right? Watch. Excuse me. It says, we have 4 men which have a vow on them. That's the vow of a Nazirite. This is where, right? It says, them take and purify thyself with them, and be at charges with them, that they may shave their heads, and all may know that those things whereof they were informed concerning thee are nothing, but that thou thyself also walketh orderly and keepeth the law. Yes. Holy mackerel. Right? It says, as touching the Gentiles which believe in Mashiach Yahushua, we have written and concluded. See that? We have written and concluded. Let's see what they conclude. That they observe no such things, save only that they keep themselves from things offered unto idols, and from blood, and from strangle, and from fornication. This is the only thing that's implemented now for the Gentiles. Right? It says, then Paul took the men, and the next day, purifying himself with them, entered into the temple to signify the accomplishments of the days of purification, until that an offering should be offered for every one of them. What offering is this? What offering is this? Okay, let's go see what the offering is. Let's go to the book of Wisdom of Solomon. This is what they were going to do at the completion of the vow, but Paul didn't make it. We'll see in the next verse there, and at Acts 21:27, we'll see. He didn't even accomplish that, right? The vow of the Nazarite. So let's go to, what is that? Let's go to Wisdom of Solomon. Let's see the offering that Paul is talking about. Let's go to Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 3, and look at verse 6. See, as gold in the furnace hath he tried them, and received them as a burnt offering. So the burnt offering is your conduct. Fearing Yahweh, loving Yahweh, keeping his commandments, works, faith, loving and forgiving your brother. All those things, all those fruits of the Spirit, that's found in Galatians chapter 5 and 22. This is the offering that Paul was going to do to those guys, right? Okay, let's get more. Let's go to Romans 12. Paul was not going to animal sacrifice. We see the offering was going to be ourselves in terms of our conduct and removing ourselves from sin. That's what it is, right? As Yahweh receiving us as a burnt offering, as we just read in Wisdom of Solomon 3 and 6. Let's go to Romans 12. See, watch this. This is Romans 12 from the top. It says, I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that ye present your bodies a living sacrifice, your body, your conduct holy, acceptable to God, which is your reasonable service. And be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of Yahweh. It's your conduct, renewing your mind, coming out of this world. That's the sacrifice that Paul was going to do with these guys. Okay? Let's go back to Hebrews chapter 10 again. Let's go back to Hebrews 10. Right. So they weren't going to animal sacrifice. Paul wasn't going to animal sacrifice. He was not going to do that. Let's go back to Hebrews 10 and 5. See it? 10 and 5. It says, wherefore when he cometh into the world, he said, sacrifice and offering thou wouldest not, but a body hast thou prepared me, the body of Mashiach Yahushua. He's done that already. Okay? Right? So now we understand that, okay? Let's get it again. Let's jump down to 8. It says, above when he said, sacrifice and offering and burnt offering and offerings for sin thou wouldest not, neither hadst pleasure therein, which are offered by the law. The law of what? The law of Moses. It says, then said he, lo, I come to do thy will, O Yahweh. He take away the first, that he may establish the second. So Paul was not going to animal sacrifice there. Okay. Let's go back to that Acts 21 and sum this thing up. Acts 21:27. Acts 21:27. See it? Yep. And when the day, it's like it says, and when the 7 days were almost ended. Remember, we saw the duration of a Nazirite vow could be 7 days, could be 30 days, could be a lifetime, could be a year. Depends on the vow you made with Yahweh. So it wasn't even up yet, right? It says, and when the 7 days were almost accomplished, the Jews which were of Asia, when they saw him in the temple, stirred up all the people and laid hands on him. So Paul, he couldn't even finish the Nazirite vow. And if he would have finished with the guys, he would have gave the offering that they would have made for themselves was to offer themselves in behavior to Yahweh Ba'asham and Yahweh Shai. So I hope, that this lesson was edifying. We see that Paul was not going to animal sacrifice, right? Conduct in terms of coming out of this world, the renewing of our minds, fearing Yahweh, loving Yahweh, keeping His commandments. This is what that offering is. So once again, I'm going to give all glory, all honor, all praises to Yahweh Ba'asham, Yahweh Shai. Shalom.